What's up, Tube? Welcome back to Local Weirdos Chop Shop, the second best Gel Blaster channel on the tubes. And today I have on the bench a whole lot of parts. I just went and ordered a whole lot of parts online to make a GBB. I ordered what I figured I would need. Probably missing a few things, and probably got a few things that I don't necessarily need. So, like for example, I don't think I'm going to need these valves. At least not yet. I'll probably need them eventually when the mag ones wear out. But the mag does come with its own valves as well, so they're kind of going to be a bit unnecessary. There's also probably some bits that I might not have here, but what I have ordered is I've just gone online. I'll put a list of everything I've ordered in the description. O-rings, slide release, not mag release is there. Trigger bar, cool, thanks. Got a frame, got a slide here as well. Yeah. Appear to be missing something. Ah, of course, got a whole bag full. I was like, wait a minute, I'm missing some bits. All right, yes, the barrel, more valves, the chassis, I guess you can call it, and hammer group. Now, I did buy a hammer group here, which is like a single piece hammer group. It's supposed to be sort of like an upgraded one, but I'm probably going to replace that sear in there anyway, because I also bought hammer group parts for like the blackened upgraded ones as well. I got the harder sear as well. In the past, you've seen me chew out sears. Everyone's chewed out sears, right? So yeah, I'm probably going to have some doubles of some parts, because I just sort of, I don't know, went online and bulk ordered stuff that I think that I need. So, oh yeah, and a bag of springs and pins and stuff as well. So we'll see how this goes. One thing I don't know if I'm going to have is screws, because I don't know if like the screw for this thing came in any of the parts kits. So that's something that I'm probably going to have to source somewhere else. And I don't know, let's see if we can do this, hey? I think probably the first thing we're going to probably want is this bit here. I think when I ordered it, it was called the chassis. So that's the main bit. Goes inside the frame there. So the other bits there, the safety. This one actually comes with a screw. I might clean up this desk space and sort of tidy up a bit so we can see what's going on. Alright, so one of the first things you're probably going to notice about this is there's quite a lot of flashing marks and stuff inside here from the casting. It's not a real high quality casting or anything. It's not a, what was it? It was Element brand, so it's not like a high quality CNC brand one or anything like that. It's just fairly cheap, but hopefully it should do the job. I'm going to just get a little file and clean up just those holes in there, see? Bit nasty. Not round, not square, not anything. I'll clean that up so that when we put this in, it's a bit nicer. Okay, so I've cleaned that up now. It's a bit nicer in there now. So the square holes are square and the round holes are round-ish. There's a spring there, and this bar here is the safety bar, and then there's this one which is the slide release takedown piece. There's the screw that holds it together. That's important. It's good that it comes with that. So the way this works is the safety plate sits in there and slides back and forth. This little round part in that spring actually pushes down. That's the detent. See these little notches? Actually, that's the detent in those notches, so that it clicks into those notches. So that spring goes in there like that, and then there's this little pin there that just goes through here and sort of holds that in place. Maybe it comes in better from the other side. Yep, there we go. So that pin holds that spring in place, and then this safety bar now has some nice clicky detents. Incidentally, that spring's also, the top part of that spring is what sits in this notch here, which is what springs your slide release mechanism. So I'm just going to pop that in upside down so that everything stays into its place, while I then screw that in with an appropriate screwdriver. I think it's a number 2 Phillips, 1 or 2. I'll go with a 2 because I've got one here that's a 2. Might actually be a 1. I think 2 it is. So that should hold that in. Did I do that whole thing off camera? I've got my trigger and trigger bar here. I fit the trigger bar. Here's a different one here. There's a little hole there which just sits there, and push the pin through there. I just did that off camera, but yeah, it's just push the pin through there with a pin punch, and there she goes. I've also got laid out here the kit of springs that came with it, and pins and springs. Not that came with, the one that I purchased for this purpose. And this. So let's get going on this frame. I want to put this trigger in there so that when we put this chassis in, the trigger, this big fat pin here, goes through there, goes through this and through the trigger, and it holds everything together. So that's an important pin. So I just want to pop that there. Trigger and everything in the right place. Also, your spring, this one, which is the trigger return spring, you want it ready to go in. Let me get this. Because that spring for the trigger bar actually hooks in here on the side. There's a little lip there, so that hooks in there, and then might actually be easier hook it on this side first and then hook it down on this side. Springs. Alright, got it. Got it. Alright, so now the big pin through here should go all the way through the chassis, the trigger and the frame and hold everything together there. Alright, the little slide releasing latch piece slides in here, and then let me get a better angle for you. Alright, so try and do it without getting my fat fingers in the way for you. That will slide over the top of that spring there, so you might have to push that spring down with something while you slide it in, and it should just slide straight in there, out the other side. Okay. Got him. Alright, now, the screw that came with this to go in here does not go in there. So, that's a bit of a bust, because that's one of the things that I was hoping would work, because that's one of the things that doesn't come in any of the other parts kits when you buy all the springs and bits and bobs and stuff. That doesn't come with it, so I'm gonna have to source a screw for that. And I think well, that looks like M3, so it's probably like M4 or something. So yeah, that one's I'm gonna have to deal with later again. Mag release. I'll do the mag release. We've got the mag release spring here. It's ready to go in. Now if I bring this over here, this spring, do it with some pliers so that you can see what I'm doing maybe, goes down in here and it just sits in there like that. There's a little slot down in the front of the frame that it sits into, and then you get your mag release button. Let's push it in this side and push it through. What you got to do now, get your spring and hook it into the mag release. a little bit fiddly. There we go, got it. Alright. What's next? Okay, so the slide release catch. Now, traditionally there was a spring which sat on these and sort of kept them down, but I've been noticing with some of the later blasters they're just not bothering with that spring anymore, and I think it's a lot to do with the fact that the magazine follower spring is so light that it's, if you have a too heavy spring on that slide catch, then the follower isn't strong enough to push the catch up and catch the slide. Now this goes obviously inside. This obviously goes inside here and rides on that pin that holds the whole chassis and trigger together there. So I just need to knock it back a little bit to slide this in. Alright, now so this should just sit down in there, and that pin, if you look down in the hole you can see that that pin lines up, and then you knock it back in, and that can just sit there without the spring, as mentioned. I think a lot of the gel blasters are omitting that. It should have one, but my kit didn't come with a spring, so I'm either going to have to source one or just deal with it. I don't think it's a big deal. I've got other big deals like that screw and other things to deal with, but so far so good. Alright, well, let's see what's next. Yes, the hammer. Alright, so I bought this stock hammer group and I'll probably upgrade things in it because let's face it, the stock Kublai hammer groups weren't that great, but just for the science of, can I buy a bunch of parts and make a GBB with it? Let's give it a crack. Alright, so, interesting. It comes with a little screw as well. That's good. Let's see if it's the right thread. It's the right thread on the floor. Alright, that's the correct thread at least, so we're going places with that one. The reset springy thing, don't forget to put that in, they always fly out. Just guide that in, get your trigger bar, guide it in to the hammer group like that, and then it should just slide down into the frame. There we go. Alright, I'm going to put the supplied screw. Incidentally, as I mentioned earlier on, I do have upgraded parts for this hammer group, so I've got a whole bunch. I bought a whole bag of little things, so there's like things like the little ball bearing for that bit instead of the solid metal and some other things. They're just stronger bits of the hammer assembly and the sear. The sear, I'll play this one until the sear wears out, and then see how it goes. Oh, look at that! It's trigger releases the hammer, which is a good sign. Now I believe one of these pins goes in there. Looks like probably that one, I would say. Yep, that's a good fit, good size. Alright, incidentally, the Kublai QC tag is fitted to the frame long before the blaster's ever assembled, so much for their QC. Alright, so I think I'm pretty much done with the lower at this stage. Also, these springs are unnecessary because they're in the hammer assembly, so I don't need them. It's BBU. Bits and pieces, and got this slide. So fresh and new, doesn't even come out of the plastic. Alright, assembly time. Alright, so I guess this plunger goes on this screw head. Probably that washer as well, just to keep it on there, which beckons the question, how do you tighten the screw up once it's got this rubber plunger thing on it? Or do you even, or do you put the screw on first and then put the cup washer on? Do you just glue this to the end of it? Is that the go? Let's just whack some Loctite down in here and see if I can't tighten it up that way. Alright, so I just checked with the Brains Trust on GelSoft AU Discord, and they reckon that it just I just put that screw on, and then I just pop this little rubber thing on, and it's just going to stay there. And that's all it takes. Okay? Yeah, righto. Kind of expected something a bit more secure than that, but you know, hey. Got a nylon nozzle there. I'm just going to put some silicone oil in there, just to make it nice and lubey. And then cool, right. Alright. I do have a rear sight here. Does seem quite a tight fit in there. Maybe too tight. I need that sight in there to screw the BBU in. So that's, I don't know what brand that sight is, it's just some random sight that I had, so let's see how that goes. So it appears that this sight is dovetailed and this slide is not. So that's not going to work for me either. Welcome to Gel Blasters. Alright, I might have another one somewhere. Let me have a look. Alright, I managed to find a stock P1 sight, which also doesn't fit. It's close, but no. It's damn close. What's it? No, it's just a little bit too wide. Too wide, too dovetailed, too not going to work. It's also worth noting, my BBU didn't come with springs either. Buying things online. Well, I kind of promised you the real experience, and that is what we are getting right now. Well, I don't know what to do now. I can't really continue on without the rear sight, because the rear sight is what holds in the BBU with that screw that goes through there. So I don't have that screw. I don't have the rear sight. I don't have the spring for the BBU. I do, however, have a barrel, standard P1 barrel. I usually take these plastic barrels out and I turn my own barrels on the lathe. That one's interesting. It looks like it's got like some sort of built-in. No, it doesn't. It's just got the normal triple thingies. And of course, the outer. I do have an outer here. This is just a standard P1 outer. Nothing spectacular about that one. I do also have the recoil spring, the buffer spring. This is one that I just bought online. It looks like it's got two springs, like a thick one and a skinny one. I guess that's probably for short stroking. My spring kit that I bought also came with that, so I suppose, should I need to, I could probably, do these come off? They must. This must unscrew, surely. Ah, yes. Yeah, alright, so if these were too strong, I could always unscrew the end off that, take that middle one out and just replace it with this single spring. Although, I don't know. See how we go. Whack that in there. So I need a screw to hold this down in the front. I need springs for the BBU. I need sights and what's that catching on? Oh, it actually does have an ejector as well. The slide comes with an ejector which goes in there, which I didn't put in. It doesn't actually do anything. So it's not really necessary. But yes. So I mean, this needs oil and springs and lots of other stuff, but it's kind of fail.
One eternity later.
Alright, so I've oiled it up, I've put some springs into the BBU that I ordered, and I also managed to get a used old outer barrel from Fat Superman off Discord. Shout outs, thanks for sending me that. He also sent me a old slide so I could actually take the sights off of it and use the sights and the screws there. I got a good correct thread screw for the frame for the chassis. This recoil spring is absolute garbage. I don't recommend using it at all. If you are this whole exercise is an exercise in what not to do. But I did get the correct screw for that chassis frame there, so that works. This thing is just garbage. I don't know why I decided that this might be a good idea. I thought if anything it would be kind of a lesson on what not to do. Don't do this. A lot of these parts are probably useful in their own right, but this slide and this BBU doesn't really fit this frame. It's fairly loose here, and while I probably could actually use a lot of these bits to make a good GBB, and I might, I mean, this is almost there. I could make this work, but I think this actually this hammer, I think the hammer set, the hammer group, and the what do you call it, the chassis in here, I think the rails are too high for this slide, or the slides, either way, the slide's like super loose on it, so it doesn't properly rack when it cycles. So it'll cycle, but the slide doesn't properly push down this. This here, the hammer doesn't get pushed down like that, because the slide's like a hair margin too high, and there's ways I could deal with that. I could shim something, but I think the end of the day, what you should probably not do is buy all of the cheapest GBB parts off of AliExpress and try and put them together to make a working GBB. There's merit in some of the gear. Some of the bits and pieces will work, and this would work if this slide and this frame were a bit better. But yeah, this was a bit of a failed exercise, just a sort of exercise in what not to do, I guess. But it goes to show you can build a pile of junk and still have the QC label on it from Kublai. How about that? I bet Kublai knew that all along. Anyway, I'm just going to leave this one here. For now, I'm actually probably going to thieve all the parts off of this and use it on some other GBBs that actually could do with the parts and will work better with them. So word to those young players out there, not every single compatible piece is compatible, if you know what I mean. They all look like they fit, but there can be things that are out by just a fraction of a millimeter, and it's just not right. So I think this would probably actually work if I put just a standard P1 slide on this. It would probably actually work. Hang on, let me try that. Standard P1 slide. Yeah, that would work all day. Yeah, most of this is garbage in here. This recoil spring is kind of garbage. This BBU is probably not garbage, but it probably is. It's not the greatest. It is kind of cheap junk. The plate on the back is kind of loose there as well. Yeah, there's ways I could make this work, but not with these parts. It pays to get all the right parts. I'm actually genuinely surprised that all the completely random bits that I bought almost came together and worked. Like, it was very close to. I could probably make it work, and that's probably the scary part. But yeah, don't do what Donnie Don't does. Don't try this at home. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget you can buy a patch from either Hardcore Blasters or from contacting me on a face page, and you can buy me a coffee in the link below. Thanks for watching. Peace. I can't just leave this alone though. I've got to explain why this doesn't work. I've got to explain to you what is actually going on with this particular thing. So on this blaster and on any of these Glock style GBBs, the way this mechanism works, let me see if I can get some more light in here, sorry. So the way this mechanism works is right now it's cocked back. I pull this trigger and it fires it. So you'll see this hammer actually comes up, this comes up, and this comes up. All three of these little pins here pop up, and if you look down in here you'll actually see that the actual hammer that strikes the valve comes out, and that's what presses the valve in the mag. Now that releases the gas to work the action. You get the gel ball come out here, and then the slide rocks back, and as the slide rocks back it slides along these rails here and it hits this and pushes it down, and it hits this and pushes it down. When it pushes that one down, it resets the trigger. When it pushes that one down, it resets the actual hammer. It also comes and rolls along this bearing here and pushes it down, and it pushes this one down as well, which actually resets that back. So if I do that again, I'll push this one down to reset the hammer there, reset the trigger, and then you see here that the striking part is still out, and when this is pushed down it resets that slides back in. So the BBU is what actually rides along here and pushes this back, and you can see it's got to be pretty much flush with this in order for that to slide across and push this back. If it's not quite there, if it's not quite flush, it comes back, it doesn't quite push this all the way back, and it just flicks back up again. And if you look at this BBU here, let me zoom in for you. So if you look at this BBU in here, it actually sits down in there just a touch lower than, so you can see the slide rail here, and then the BBU is sitting in there a touch lower. It's like not even a lot, it's just the tiniest little amount. I could measure it. So the actual rail is 3.47 millimeters down, and then the BBU is 4.38 millimeters. So it's like 1 millimeter too low, and because it's sitting down it's sitting down into the slide 1 millimeter too low, that's only pushing this to a millimeter there, and therefore it's popping back up. So this BBU actually needs to come up 1 millimeter, and I guess I could put 1 millimeter's worth of shim underneath, or at the top here, the top of the BBU, to bring it up, and it would probably work. But it would also help if you got the right BBU that actually fit in there and sat at the right height in the first place. So if I bring in the stock P1 slide here, you can see right here the BBU actually sits completely flush with the slide rail there. There's no gap there at all. So here, completely flush. Here, it drops down a millimeter, or 0.9 of a millimeter I think it was, but yeah, close enough to a millimeter. And that's all it takes for this to not reset properly. Anyway, I had to explain it. I could not explain it. I couldn't let it go. Speaking of not being able to let it go, might be exactly what I need. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I've actually cut just a credit card up. It happened to be exactly it's like 0.8 or 0.9 of a millimeter thick, so it just happened to be the precise thickness that I needed underneath this BBU to shim it up to bring this section flush here. So that's just nice and flush now, so that should all line up. I mean, not ideally. This is a shit show. This is not ideal. I shouldn't be doing this. This is not an appropriate way to deal with this problem. An appropriate way would be to get the correct BBU and slide to work together and have all that actually working. But this is flush now, so in theory, when I put all this back together, it should all work. Okay, so now I should be able to put this all back together. And in theory, should operate. Now I'm going to hold the slide lock down so that it will cycle. Well, there you go. I've made a relatively garbage GBB from garbage parts that cost me more to build than it would have been to just buy a decent GBB from the shops. Who knew? Who knew? But caveat, I started filming this video more than 6 months ago. I think it was a lot of things have hit the market better than the P1 since I started filming this video. And I mean, while I do have an operating P1 with a metal slide, which is pretty cool, certainly not an exercise I would encourage anyone to undertake. It was probably more of just a see if I could do it, see what could be done, see whether half the parts on AliExpress are junk or not. Some of them are okay, so a lot of them are okay. Some of them just aren't fit for purpose, and I don't know if this BBU was designed for a RMR cut slide, which is why maybe it's 1mm. Well, it needs 1mm of shimming to bring it down into an operable position. Because originally it was sitting too high up and it wouldn't actually reset the hammer, which is what the problem was originally. Either way, I'm done with this. I told you I've been filming this for 6 months, and it's because I really stopped caring about this particular video, but I figured I'd get it finished, get it done, get it out there. I thought it'd be interesting, entertaining, maybe not. Either way, if you do enjoy what I'm doing, you can buy me a coffee in the link below, or you can buy a patch from me by hitting me up on face page, Low Guido's Chopters. Anyway, that's enough for me, enough shenanigans. I'll catch you next time.